In the blink of an eye, a life is lost. A mother screams in helpless agony as she watches her son take his last breath. A father pleads for mercy, but it's too late. His daughter lies lifeless at his feet. How do split-second decisions by police lead to tragedy? Could these lives have been saved? Put it down. Put it down. Get down on the ground. These are the moments that stay with us, the heart-wrenching, split-second decisions that result in irreversible consequences. These are the moments when parents are forced to watch their children lose their lives in police encounters. Moments that shatter families, provoke public outrage, and leave lasting scars on communities. One such moment occurred when a mother was on a video call with her son and his girlfriend. What began as a routine traffic stop quickly spiraled into tragedy. Officers discovered an outstanding warrant, and within minutes, her son was fatally shot. She could only watch in disbelief, helpless, as her son took his last breath, his life ending in front of her, while she could do nothing but scream and cry through the phone. The officer involved claimed to have mistaken her gun for a taser, a mistake that cost a young man his future. But this story is not unique. In another case, a father was present as police were forced to make a split-second decision to protect others from his daughter, who had a weapon in hand. A chaotic scene unfolded, and when the smoke cleared, his daughter was lying dead. The father's grief turned into anger as he confronted officers, unable to reconcile the loss of his child with the actions taken by law enforcement. "She was just a kid," he cried, but in that moment, the officers saw a deadly threat, a threat that left them with no time for negotiation. The cycle of tragedy continues, with cases across the country showing a disturbingly familiar pattern. In one case, a mother called the police for help when her 13-year-old autistic son was experiencing a mental health breakdown. She feared for his safety, hoping that law enforcement could assist in getting him to a hospital. But what happened instead was unimaginable. In a moment of confusion, with the officers unsure if the boy had a weapon or not, he was shot. Although the child survived, he endured life-altering injuries, and his mother now lives with the pain of having called for help only to watch it result in the harm of her own son. These stories are about more than just one tragic moment. They're about the long-standing distrust between law enforcement and communities, especially communities of color and those dealing with mental illness. They speak to the systemic issues that lead to these fatal encounters: the lack of proper training, the absence of mental health professionals during crises, and the blurred lines between protection and violence. Imagine the pain of watching your loved one be killed, the screams echoing in your mind for years to come. Imagine the torment of knowing that what was supposed to be a call for help ended in a loss so deep it can never be healed. Mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, families shattered, left with questions that will never be fully answered. In another harrowing incident, a mother could only watch as her son, struggling with mental health issues, was shot in front of her by the officers she had called for help. In the confusion and chaos, a pair of scissors in his hand was enough to trigger the response that would end his life. The mother tried to intervene, hoping to calm the situation, but nothing could stop the inevitable outcome. She will forever live with the knowledge that her call for assistance was the last step in her son's life. The weight of these incidents falls on all of us. While some may see justifiable action, others see an excessive use of force. Each case sparks a debate about police practices, mental health interventions, and racial disparities in policing. Every case leaves behind a community mourning not only the loss of life, but the breakdown in trust that allows such incidents to continue happening. And the officers themselves are often left in turmoil, some facing criminal charges, others cleared but haunted by the split-second decisions that have life or death consequences. The justice system may rule their actions lawful, but the emotional toll remains. No one walks away from these encounters unscathed, not the families, not the officers, not the communities. Each incident prompts us to ask, why do these situations escalate so quickly? Could there have been another way? What can be done to prevent the next tragedy? As we delve deeper into the patterns of police encounters, we can see how these devastating outcomes are often a product of deeply flawed systems. Whether it's a lack of de-escalation training, inadequate mental health resources, or systemic bias, these factors play a role in shaping the fateful decisions made in the heat of the moment. In yet another case, police arrived at a residence responding to a domestic violence call, and within minutes, a 4-year-old child was caught in the crossfire. The officers had tried to subdue an intoxicated man who was using the child as a human shield. As the situation escalated, the child's mother screamed, watching in horror as her son and boyfriend were fatally shot in front of her. One wrong move, one split second, and the child's life was over, all while his mother was powerless to save him. The aftermath of these incidents leaves a community shaken. There are vigils, protests, lawsuits, and media coverage, but no amount of legal action or compensation can bring back a lost loved one. The grief is real, the pain is raw, and the scars on the community are deep. These stories serve as a chilling reminder of the potential consequences of police encounters gone wrong. They raise questions about how our society responds to mental health crises, how we address domestic violence, and how we train those sworn to protect us. For every officer who faces criminal charges, there are many more who walk free, their actions ruled as justified, but the families are left with broken hearts and shattered lives. As you reflect on these tragic encounters, ask yourself, how can we prevent the next life from being lost? What changes need to be made so that families no longer have to experience the horror of watching their loved ones shot in front of them? How can we ensure that officers are equipped with the training and resources they need to handle these situations without resorting to lethal force? If you want to hear more about these real-life cases and explore the complexities of law enforcement encounters, please like and subscribe. These are the stories that need to be told, shared, and understood, so we can all work towards a future where lives are not lost unnecessarily and families are not torn apart.